Alright, so let us look at margin. So let us see the sides of margin. I told you that an HTML element generates a box, and we are going to look at the size of the box for each of these properties that we have here: margin, padding, and what border. So we are going to look at, so we have, just like we have margin left, we have margin top, margin right, margin bottom, and margin left. So the same thing too for, let's do for padding too as well. The same thing too for padding. We have let me just duplicate this. So we have padding top, and also the same thing too. So for border too, we have border. Let me just duplicate these two so that I won't stress myself. Border. So alright, so this is what we have. So these are all the sides for margin, padding, and what border. So you can see the arrangement. It is from top. So I think that should be, I think that should be clockwise now. Is it clockwise? Yeah, that should be clockwise, from top to right, from right to bottom, from bottom to left. So that should be clockwise. So it moves like that. So now let us see the practical aspect of it. So here, for example, let me turn on this part here. Now, apparently we only have the content box here. There's no padding around it. There's no padding around the content and within the border. Like I said, that padding it is the space within the border and around the content box. It is used to enlarge an element box and also create space between the content box and border of an element. So now let us look at the practical aspect of this. So what I'm going to do is, do I have my CSS styled? So okay, I'm linked, sorry. So I'm going to link my external CSS. So I'm just going to say link, come here, then save. Please ensure that if you are writing, please ensure to always link your external CSS file to your HTML document. It's very important, because whatever CSS code that you write in your external CSS file and you do not link it, it will not reflect. You have to link it first. You have to link your external CSS file into your index.html document. It's very, very important, or your HTML document. So what do we want? First of all, let us select what H1. Of course, element selector is something that shouldn't be new to you anymore. So this is an element selector H1. So what do I want? I want to create a border. So I'm going to say border top. Let's say border top. I'm going to give it like 40 pixels. So I say border top 40 pixels. Now let us see what we have. Now can you see that if you inspect this with pesticide, can you see that we have enlarged this box? Why? Because of what? Padding. And if you look at this, if you examine this diagram here, now can you see the content box? This is the content box. Now look at the padding on top. Notice that there's no value of padding on the left side, on the right side, and on the bottom side, but we have it for the what? The top side. and the value for the padding on top is what, 40. Notice how we have been able to enlarge this content, this element box, because of what, padding. So we're able to enlarge this because of what, padding. So we enlarged this because of padding. So we added padding to the top. So if we do the same thing too for the left side, so let's say for example, you don't have to have equal padding value for all the sides. So let's say for the left side I want 20, and for the right side I want something like 30. Then from the bottom side I want something like probably 50, and let's save. Now watch what you're going to have here. Can you see how enlarged this box is? You can see how enlarged, big, but it's still within its position. It's still within its position, but the box, what the HTML box that was enlarged. So if we examine this, for instance, now watch what we have here. This is the content box. Now if I hover on this, now look at what you are going to see here. So this is the content box. Can you see the content box? This is the content box. Now look at the padding. Can you see the padding now? So the padding now is the space around the content box, and around the content box. It is space around the content box, but within the border. It is the space around the content box, but within the border. Can you see the space now? If I hover on this, just look at this area. Look at this area that my mouse is hovering at. So now let's look at, can you see the padding? Now look at the value of the padding. The top is what? 40. The bottom is what? 50. The left is 20. Then the right is what? 30. Can you see the different value of this padding? That is how it is. Very, very simple. So from our definition, I said that padding is used to create space within the border and around the content box. It is used to enlarge an element box and also create space between the content box and the border of an element. So it enlarges the element box. It enlarges the element box, but it will still remain in its position. But if you want to shift it, for example, if you want to shift the element from any of the sides, we are going to use margin. It is the space outside of the border of an HTML element. It is the space outside of the border of an HTML element, and it is used to shift or to move an element box on any of the four sides. So let me show you something here before we look at padding. Now observe that if in this is the H1 box, this is the H1 diagram, this is the H1 diagram, this one here, this is the H1 diagram. Notice that the border does not have any value on all sides, top, right, bottom, and what, left. But for the padding, it has value 40, 30, 50, and what, 20. But notice the margin. The margin has a default value on top and on the bottom side, so they have the same value. So it goes to show that every HTML element comes with a default margin and even padding. Comes with what? A default margin and what? Padding. Can you see? Even the default font size is 2M. Can you see? We are going to look at measurement, absolute and relative unit in our subsequent class. But look at 2M. This 2M simply means that's 2 times 16. That should be 32 pixels. So this is 32 pixel font size. 32 pixel font size. 32 pixel font size. Can you see? It comes by default. The browser, it comes by default in the browser. So the browser has a predefined CSS styling for every of our HTML element. You can see the name. Can you see user agent style sheet? User agent style sheet. User agent style sheet. So now, so browser comes with a predefined CSS styling for each of our HTML elements. Example is what? Margin. So every HTML element, whether block or inline element, has a default margin and what? Padding value. So you can see, but we can mitigate that, we can stop that, in the sense that we can decide to, whenever we want to build a website, and whenever we want to apply a styling on our CSS and HTML element, the first thing that we need to do is to do a CSS reset, an element reset, HTML document reset, meaning that all the margin and padding that has been given to the elements by default by the browser, we have to change it to what is 0. Then afterwards we can now start giving it what? Our own value. But we'll look at that in this class, but that will be later. So let us see. Let us look at margin now. Let us see the power of margin. Let us see the power of margin. Even the body has a padding and a margin, and I'm going to show you that. Let me show you. Body. Okay, this is the body now. This is the body. I've clicked on the body now. When I click on the body, it's going to bring me. You are going to see this diagram here. You are going to see this diagram here. Can you see this diagram? Now notice that the margin is what? 8 pixels. If you hover on it, can you see the body area? The body area, the padding, the margin is 8 pixels. Can you see it around this part here? Just look at it here. Can you see it? 8 pixels. So that is why it is necessary that you do a CSS reset, a universal reset, whereby you have to select all the elements of your HTML and set the margin and the padding to what is 0. It is very, very important. And you don't have to literally select all the HTML elements that you are going to have in your HTML document. There's a CSS selector there's a CSS selector for that. It's just one symbol, an asterisk sign, which is called universal selector. So its responsibility is to select all the elements in your HTML, starting from the body tag down to every other elements that you are going to have inside of the body element. So you can select that using what? The universal selector. It has an asterisk symbol. We are going to look into that also today. So alright, so now let me show you back to my border, my H1. So I've clicked on the H1 now so I can see this. So now, like I said margin is used to shift or to move an element box on any side of any of the 4 sides. Let's say, for example, I want to push this I want to move this H1 box. Now I want to move it like few pixels away from the left. I want to move it like maybe 100 pixels away from the left. So I want it to be 100 pixels away from the left side of where it is. I want to move it 100 pixels away. Please take note of away and to. So I'm moving it away from the left side. So what I'm going to do is still inside of the margin, the H1, I'm going to create margin left. Let's say, for example, margin left, and I'm going to do something like 100 pixels. So if I save this now and I come here, now look at what we have. Can you see? This is the space that we create already. This is the space. So if I remove this part here now, if I hover on this now, this is what we have. Can you see? And this is the margin, 100. This is the 100. This is it. Look at it around here, 100. So it means that I've moved this box 100 pixels away from the left. So if I do top 2 as well, let me duplicate this and I do something like 200 from the top, 200 from the top, or let's say 300 from the top, and we save. Can you see? If I hover on this now, look at what we have. Now look at the margin. Can you see? I think let's make it 200. Let's make it 200. Can you see that I've moved it away from its original position? If I hover on the margin, can you see? Look at. So from the top is what, 200, then the left side is what, also what, 100. Now if I can also move it from the right side too. I can say margin right. I want to move it, let's say 150 pixels away from the right side. 150 pixels away. Can you see it? If I hover on it now, can you see what we have? Can you see it? I've moved it 150 pixels from the right, 100 pixels from the left, then 200 from the bottom. 200 from the bottom. So that is how it works actually. So I can just use this. Can you see? If I use this pesticide, can you see? So this is actually the real box now. This is the real box. So all this one that you have here, this one is the margin, the space around the border, the space around the border. While also this one too, the space around the border. And you also have this part too, the space around the border. This part is the default margin value that is given to H1. Because if you hover on this now, can you see? Is the default margin value that is being given to what? H1. So you can see all of this. Now let's say I want to create another. Let's say let me comment this one now, and let me just comment this link for example, and I save this. Now if I hover on this, see, notice that this is the real content. This is the content box itself. This is the content box, and this is the margin, the space around the border. This is 150 and this is 100, and this, all of this is 200, and this one under, that's the bottom. This one at the bottom is like what's the value now? Is 21.44 pixel. Can you see it here? If you hover on it, can you see it here? So now if we come back to our note, you will notice that I said that the boxes combine together, or the boxes combine to determine an element's layout of content, as well as how adjacent elements appear alongside. Now you will notice that you notice that when I now this paragraph here, you can see that the paragraph is not too close to the paragraph. Between the paragraph and this H1, there's a space around it, between the paragraph and the H1. So this space that we create, this space around adjacent elements, is as a result of what? Margin. Because, and this margin is coming from the H1. This margin is coming from the H1. That's the margin bottom. This one that we have here, 21.440 pixel. So that's the margin. So every other element that is coming after it will be moved, will not come close to what? To this to this box here, because we have already created a space around the border that once we create another element, it will not infringe on that space. That space is going to be respected. So you can see how the HTML is the way the HTML is around other adjacent elements. You can see how it is. So that is that actually. Then I can do the same thing too for that's the P tag. Now I can say for P, I want margin top to be, let's say 100 pixel. So if I save this now, let's see what we have. Can you see we have moved it down a bit? So this is what we have here. So this is the, for the H1, this is the margin bottom of the H1. So if we look at the P tag now, this is the P tag. Look at the margin bottom. Can you see? This is the margin top now. This is the margin top. Can you see it now? Margin top. So it's very, very, very important. So that is how we create space around what? The border. So margin actually, where's my note now? Margin, it is the space outside of the border of an adjacent element. It is used to move or shift an element box on any of the four sides, left, right, top, bottom. So that is that. Now I'm going to show you the shorthand. I'm going to show you the shorthand of these properties. I want to show you the shorthands for this property. The shorthand for these properties is very, very important. Let me show you the shorthand for this property. So I'm going to copy this now. Copy this. I'm going to say shorthand for, I paste it, for margin, padding, and border. So let's say, for example, you want to, let's say you want to give instead of having margin top, margin right, margin bottom, margin left, just like the way we have it here, you are writing it like this. It can be stressful. There's a shorthand for it, and this is the shorthand. This is the shorthand. Just type padding, then the first value, let's use this part here, 40, 30, 20, 50. So 40, 30, 20, 50 pixel, then a semicolon to end it. So now you can see that this first value addresses the top, this second value addresses the right, this third value addresses the bottom, while the fourth value addresses the left. So it moves clockwise, in a clockwise direction. Yeah, clockwise direction, top, right, bottom, and what, left. Please take note of that. Top, right, bottom, and left is very important. So this is a shorthand. Instead of writing padding top 40 pixel, padding right 30 pixel, padding and all that, so you just do it like this and you are good to go. So this is a shorthand for writing all of these unnecessary long code here. Can you see it? Unnecessary this thing. This is a shorthand for that. So it's very, very simple, very, very simple. So that's that. And also, let's say, for example, okay, let's try this now. So instead of having this now, I'm just going to comment this. I'm going to highlight it and press Ctrl and /, then save. Then I'm going to do the shorthand now. Let me just press shorthand. So I'll just come here and say, okay, padding, the top is what, 40 pixel, the right is what, 30 pixel, the bottom is what, 50 pixel, and the left is what, 20 pixel. So if we save this now and we view it on our browser, still the same thing. If you use the pesticide to check it, still the same thing. Can you see the padding around it? Still the same thing. So please, it's very simple. Then what if that's for one part? That's for one part. But what if you want to have two sides? Like you want to have let's say 3 sides, or maybe probably for all the whole sides you want to give them equal value. If you want to give all the whole sides equal value, to give all the whole sides equal value, you don't have to do something like this. If you want to give all the whole side equal value, you don't have to do something like this, padding 10 pixel, 10 pixel, 10 pixel, 10 pixel. It's not right, because since you are giving it the same value, because this one represents top, right, bottom, and left, since you are giving it the same value, this is the correct way. This is the correct way. This is the correct way. Is what? Just do padding and what, 10 pixel. That's all. So this padding 10 pixel is going to affect all the sides of what? Of the HTML element. It's going to affect all the sides. But what if you want to set equal value for 2 sides? You want to set equal I want to set equal value for left and right. I want to set equal value for top and bottom, then left and right. Left and right. So how do you do it? It's very simple. So just come here and say okay, you say padding. Instead of doing it like this, padding, you want top and bottom to have the same value and left and right to have the same value. Instead of doing it like this by saying okay, I want top to be 20 pixels and I want right to be 40 pixels. I want bottom to be 20 pixels and I want right left to be 40 pixels. Can you see that top here is the same thing as what? Bottom. Why right here is the same thing as what? Left. The same thing as left. So this is the correct way. The correct way is this. The correct way is padding 20 pixels top and bottom, 40 pixels left and right. It's as simple as that. So that's it. 20 pixels top and bottom and 40 pixels left and right. What if you want to have equal value for left and right and different value for top and bottom? Let's say if you want to have equal value for left and right, but different values for top and bottom. It is very simple. This is the way to do it. This is the way to do it. So instead of doing it like this, let me just put I'm right wrong way. Wrong way. It doesn't mean that it will not work even though you use the wrong way. It's just that no, let me not use the wrong way. Let me not use wrong. Instead of correct, I can just use better way or better approach. I think this one is better. Yes, I like this word, better approach. So instead of doing it like this, for padding, you want to have left and right to have the same value and top and bottom to have different value. You can say okay, for top you want it to be 30 pixels, for left you want it to be 20 pixels, for top 30 pixels, for right 20 pixels, for bottom you want it to have 10 pixels, while for left you want it to have 20 pixels. You can do it like this, but the better way is to do it like this. Better way is to do it like this. Padding the top will be 30 pixels, then left and right will be what? 20 pixels, while bottom will be 10 pixels. So this is what it means. So if you want to have different value for bottom but right value for left and right, so this is what it means. So this one, so this is top left and right, then bottom. This one is top and bottom, then left and right. Very important. Why this one is top, right, bottom, then left. So very important. I think that is all. But if you just want to have only one value for just one side, just define the side, maybe padding maybe padding left, sorry about that, maybe padding left, you can just do padding left. So this what I just did here, it applies to margin, it applies to margin and border too as well. It applies to margin, border as well. So I don't have if I start to do, if I want to do border now and margin, this might take a whole lot of time. So let's move on now. For this aspect now, for this aspect whereby I have margin left 100 pixel, margin top 200 pixel, margin right 150 pixel, I can just get the shorthand. I can say for the shorthand, I can do something very simple. For the shorthand, hold on please. So for the shorthand, for this code, so we'll just type what margin, don't forget to add just semicolon. So margin, so the first one is margin top, so which is what 200 pixel. The second one is margin right, which is 150 pixel. You can see that I'm not putting comma, I'm just using a space character to separate them. Then the margin bottom, so there's no margin bottom. Since there's no margin bottom, just give it a 0. Then margin right, margin left, which is 100 what pixel. So we'll still have the same thing. Can you see it? So if we save it now and then we over on this, still the same thing. Do you get it now? So it's as simple as ABC. So let me just uncomment this link now. For example, let me uncomment this link and let's highlight. So apparently for link, it doesn't even have any margin, padding, border, or margin, border, and even padding. It doesn't have any margin value or border value. Can you see? And even this one is auto. So this one, it only takes up the appropriate width that is available, that is right for its what content. So I don't think this inline element, which is anchor tag, has a predefined margin and padding value set by the browser. So I think I've done justice to that. Let's also talk about border. Let's talk about border and we call it a, let's talk about border. Probably maybe tomorrow, of course tomorrow, certainly tomorrow we are going to do a particular project. Let me show you that quickly. So this is the project that I want us to do tomorrow. So all of this, we are going to achieve that using using HTML and what CSS. I already have it coded already. I think I have the file here. Can you see? I have the file here. This is the HTML. Also this is the CSS, the external CSS. Can you see all of this? And this is the end part. So please, tomorrow, make sure you don't miss tomorrow's class. Alright, so I'm teaching you this box model and other things that you need to know, so that when we start treating this particular, or when we start building this particular table web page, it will not be something that will be difficult for you. So please ensure that you watch the video. Please. Thank you. Alright, so let me go back to my other window. Alright, so let me show you border, because as for border doesn't just have sides alone. Border left, border right, border bottom, and border, all those things like that. We are also going to look at some other properties that comes with border. Other properties that come with border aside from border sides. So let us look at that. Aside from border side, so we are going to look at that now. So we have border color, we have border color, and we have border style. Yes, we have border style. We have border color and we have border style. But before we look into border color and border style, let me use this opportunity to teach you in details what is color. Of course, you know the meaning of color. So the one we've done color yesterday in the beginning of our CSS class, and the thing is, I want to show you other aspect of color, because what we did yesterday was giving you color names, but there are several ways we can write color in our CSS. There are several ways we can write color in our CSS. Let me just come here and write it here. There are several ways. So there are several ways we can write color in our style. There are several ways we can write CSS color in our style. So we have, first of all, color name. Then we have color hexadecimal. Then we have color RGB, which is a combination of red, green, and blue. Yes, and I think we have color HSL. So HSL, which stands for, I think this H stands for hue, S stands for saturation, when L stands for light. Is it lighter now or something? Light or something. So I think so. Is it transparency or light? I've forgotten actually. I rarely use this. I don't use this at all. So this is what we have. So what we did yesterday was to introduce you to color names, but we also have different variations of color. We have different variations because colors have different variations. Just like we have blue. For blue now, we have different types of blue: royal blue, sky blue, navy blue, all kinds of blue. And even there are some blues that don't even have name. There are some blues that don't even have name. So we are going to look at hexadecimal and what RGBA, which simply means red, green, and blue. So it's a combination of red color, green color, and what blue color. So I'm going to use this CSS now, this HTML, and I'm going to show you a color. Let's say I want to give it the color red. So this is the one we are actually used to, which is what color names, by giving a text a color name, red now, for example. But notice that if you are using VS Code, if you hover on the value of the color property, this red, now if you hover on it, it's going to bring out a color palette for you. And it's going to bring out the color palette for you, and you are going to see the value. Are you with me? You are going to see the value of the color name. You are going to see the value of this color name as in other variations. Just like we have RGBA, which simply means a combination of red, green, and what, black. So for RGBA, it has RGB, I'm using A. A simply means opacity, but don't worry, we'll look at that. RGB simply means the amount of red color, green color, and blue color that you have together. You know, these are primary colors. If these are primary colors that actually generates every other colors that we have. So you can see that it has a value from 0 to 225. Let me write it here. So each has a value of is 0 to what 255. Each has a value of 0 to 255. So where's my CSS? Now if I hover on this now, the RGBA, the R there is this 255 is representing this R. So it means that this thing is 100% red. There's no mixture of green or black, mixture of green or blue. So that's why you have is 0 is 0. That's why you have what is 0 is 0. But this is the color code. This is the color code for what? For this red color name. Now if we click on this side, now if we click on it, it's going to show us another variation. If we click on it, now can you see it's showing us another variation, and this one is what? Hexadecimal. Hexadecimal. So this hexadecimal is a combination of what? Hash symbol, letter, and then what? Number. It's a combination of hash symbol, letter, and what? Number. It's a combination of hash symbol, letter, and what? Number. So if I click on this thing, it's going to show me another variation. So this is what I have here: the hue, the saturation, and I think the lightness. So you can see 0, 100%, and what? 50 degree. Then we also have another one here. This one I really don't know what it means. I rarely use this actually. So that's that. So now I can decide to now start playing around this. I can play around this. You can see this part here. I can begin. If I drag it now, look at, I'm coming. If I drag it now, you can see that you can see the value is reducing. Can you see? If I come here, I can even bring it down a bit. I can come here and do something like this. So I can play around this. I can play around this, and I can choose any kind of color. So if I come here now and I click on this now, maybe when I'm done with this and I come out and click on it, can you tell me the color name of this? Can you tell me the color name of this? You can't know the color name, because that is why color name is limited, because you have variations of different colors. You have variations of blue, variations of red, variations of green, variations of yellow, variations of gold, variations of green, variations of gray. So with the help of color codes such as RGB and hexadecimal, like this now, this hexadecimal code, now this one will actually help us to be able to pick any kind of color that we want. And more often than not, we usually work with one of these color code, either RGB or what? Hexadecimal. We rarely use color names. We rarely use color names. So do you get that now? Alright. So let's look at this color black now. Can you see? The value for the RGB is 000. The hexadecimal is what? Is 0000006. So it has to be 6 in number. For this hexadecimal, the value has to be what? 6 plus the what? R symbol, make it 7. The R symbol, then the combination of numbers and letters all together will have to be 6. But apparently for black hexadecimal color is just 6 zeros, then the R symbol. So I think that is that. So let me just clear off what this color, or let me comment the color. So now I can go back to my border. Now when you want to generate a border, for example, when you want to generate a border for an HTML element, first of all you have to consider the border side, which we have actually addressed here, and you have to consider the border color, the border style, and also last but not the least, the border width. The border width talks about the thickness of the color. It addresses what? Thickness. The thickness of the border. Why this actually talks about the style, the presentation, yes, or the look. Let me use the look of the border. while this talks about the color of the border. So now let us see this now. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to create a border. I'm going to create a border around this HTML. So let me show you this. So this is what we have. This is our, if you view this, this is what we have. So let me just create a border around it so you can see what I'm talking about. So let me create a border. So let me bring this one down here. So I'll come here, border. So here I'm going to say, okay, for border top, I want, now for border top, I want okay, so let me show you something, please. Let me show you something. Now just observe, let me show you something. We have border top, we have border right, we have border bottom, and then we have border right. Very simple. Now these sides, now this represent the sides of the border. Now each of these sides, now you now have to ask yourself, okay, what do I want for this border? I want border width. That's talking about the thickness of the border. So every border side comes with what? A border width space, a border color or style. It doesn't have to be in any particular order. Then space, border color. Simple. Bam. So this is applicable to every other element. So paste, every other side of the border. So this is what we have here. So if I come here, where's my note now? And I say border, let's say border top. If I say border top now, first of all, I will have to talk about the border width. So the border width, I have to give it a width of, let's say, I want it, the width actually talks about the thickness of the border. So I want the border to be very thick. So I can give it something like 10 pixel. Space, then the other one talks about the color. I can give it a red. Then the next one talks about the style. Talks about the style of the color. So we have different style for border. So we have dashed, we have dotted, we have solid, we have double, we have ridge, we have inset, we have what again? We have outset, I think so, and 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. There's another one too. Dash. Okay, we'll look at that later. We'll look at that now. So let's say coming. Let's say border style. Here we have dashed, dotted, double, groove. Yes, groove, inset, outset, rigid, solid. So okay, groove. So save. So come here and then so I border width too. Okay, so first of all, let me show you. Let's start with this. So let's say for border, let's say border width, let's say we want 5 pixel. border color. Let's say we want, I get now, I get now. Beautiful. I think I love what I'm because I'm looking for a way to better explain this so that you can be able to understand. So this is going to take a lot of our time. So now let us look at, before we look at this actually, because this one actually they are shorthand for border, shorthand for border. Let us look at the normal hand, normal plain long this thing. So now for every side we have border side, we have border color, and we have border right, and we have border width. So imagine we want to set border color, border style, and border width for the left side or for the top side of our H1 element. This H1 element, this is what we are going to do. We are going to do border top width. Can you see border top width? Can you see it? Border top width, we say 5 pixel. Then the other one, border, then the next one is what? Border style. So border top style, what do we need? That's let's say we want dotted. That's what we want, dotted. Then border top color, let's say we want red. So if we save this now, look at what we have. Can you see it? This is what we have. We can continue that process for bottom. Let me just do it like this, border top. We can continue this process for the left side too, and we can say for bottom we want it to be bottom, so I can give this thickness of 10 pixel. I don't want it to be dashed, dotted, I want it to be dashed, and I want a color of actually maybe purple, that's for the bottom aspect. Now look at it here, can you see it? This is it here, this is dotted and this is that. Can you see the looks of the border? That is talking about the style of the border. Then we move ahead, we do the same thing too for copy, we do the same thing too for left, do the same thing too for left. So come here, and remove, say left. Here we can give it, let's say let's still make it 10 pixel. Instead of dashed as the star, I'm going to give it solid. We give it solid. Then here the purple, let's say we can give it gold or something. So we'll save. Here, this is what we have. Can you see it? This is what we have. So the next one is let's try for the right side. Let's duplicate this one more time. If we try it for the right side, let's say this one should be 5 pixel, and we want this one to be actually, let's say double, and want its color to be green. So if we save this now, oh sorry, okay, I'm supposed to do it for right. I've already done for left, so let me just remove this and do right. So this is what we have. Can you see it? Double, dashed, dotted, and what? Solid. This is what we have. This is what we have done so far. So now all of this, border top, border bottom, border left, border right, can you see all of this? We can create a shorthand for it. We can create a shorthand for it, and the shorthand is this. This is the shorthand for this border. This is the shorthand for the border. So instead of doing it like this, so you can see for the shorthand we have border top. It comprises of what? Border width, border style, and border color. Instead of writing it like this, which can be what? Stressful. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to say shorthand. I'm going to say border shorthand, and I'll just comment this one now. I'll comment this and I'll come here. Let me give this border, so I'll say border top. I'll say border top. So this border top comprises of the border width, which is, so border width will be 5 pixels. The border color will be red, and the style will be dotted. Can you see? Yes, dotted. Why this next one for the bottom? I'm going to comment this and I'm going to say border bottom. Border bottom is going to have a 10 pixel width, then a purple color, then dashed. Can you see it? So for this one too, the same thing too. Border. Can you see how simple this shorthand is? It makes life very easy. So 10 pixel. The style is solid, and the color is what? Gold. Can you see? So simple. Why for this border right? The same thing too. Border right. Let me look for it here. Border right, I think it's 5 pixel, double, and green. So if we save this now, we will still have the same thing. Can you see how beautiful it is? The same thing, the same thing, the same thing. Instead of going through this rigorous process, it's still what? The same thing. So this is just a shorthand. So for if you want a different, now if you want a different style, color, and thickness, if you want a different style, color, and thickness for different size of the border, then you can do it like this instead of doing it like this. But if you want the same style, let me write it here. If you want the same style, the same thickness, and the same what? Color for all sides of the border, then the shorthand will be this, just border followed by all of this, copy and paste, followed by all of this. That's it. So now in this case, maybe I want all the whole side. Let me just comment this. I want all the whole side of the border to have the same color, the same thickness, and the same style. So I can just do, for the thickness, I want it to be 2 pixel. I want the style to be what? Solid, and I want the color to be what? Red. So that's it. It's as simple as that. Then we are good to go. Can you see what we have now? Very simple. This is what? Very simple. We are able to achieve this using this shorthand here. So I had to go through this rigorous process to explain to you what exactly border simply means. But in practicality, we are not going to be using all of this long process. It's just the shorthand. It's the shorthand that we are going to be using. So please get used to. So please understand all of this long process, because by the time we start using the shorthand, you need to understand the long process before you can understand the shorthand, because you know that this border now, when you have just border, it means that it's addressing all the whole sides. So it is addressing all the whole sides. So you want 2 pixels for all the whole side. The thickness for the you want the thickness for all the whole side of the border to be 2 pixels. You want the style for all the whole side of the border to be solid, and you want the color for all the whole side of the border, that means the 4 sides of the border, to be what? Red. So this is it here. But if you want it other way around, whereby you want top to have different styling, color, and style from other side, you can do it this way with this shorthand. It's as simple as that. Very, very simple. It's nothing difficult at all. So I think I have done justice to the box model, which is padding, margin, and what? Border. So I've done justice to that. So in our next class, we are going to look at the practical aspect of that, and we are going to build that table that I showed you not too long ago. So we are going to build that in tomorrow's class. So please ensure that you watch today's video. Thank you, and do and enjoy the rest of your day. So we'll meet again tomorrow. Until then, do have a lovely